Come on, let's talk about the inheritance already. I couldn't believe my sister was saying this. How much do you think I'll get from Grandpa's inheritance? Let's say it's $1 million. She used to be so sweet as a child. When did she become so obsessed with money? My name is Annette, and I'm 35 years old. Dedicated to my job and single, I have no plans of getting married anytime soon, and I'm enjoying my single life. My work, I'm a caregiver. As many say, caregiving is indeed a tough job. There are numerous tasks, and establishing a rapport with clients can be challenging. There are times when it's physically and emotionally draining. However, Annette, thank you so much. You're a lifesaver. Just hearing words of gratitude like that uplifts my spirit. It makes me feel that choosing this profession was worth it. Annette, is it time for you to clock out? I'll take over from here. As I was washing used towels, my colleague called out to me. Sorry to always rely on you. Could you handle the rest? Sure, take care. It's 5 p.m. The woman who clocked in after me is on the night shift until morning. Though I should be doing night shifts too, I have my reasons for not being able to. That my workplace understands this, I'm really grateful. After showing appreciation for the night shift staff, I hurriedly make my way home. My house is about a 20-minute drive from work. Grandma, I'm home. Oh, Annette. Grandma was busy preparing Grandpa's meal. Have you eaten, Grandma? Not yet. Let's have dinner, all three of us, with Grandpa. Sounds good. I live with my grandparents, primarily to care for Grandpa. It might be rare for a grandchild to serve as a caregiver, but it was entirely my choice to move into their home. I lost my mother at a young age, and my dad was often busy with work. So my younger sister Lucia and I were frequently left in the care of our paternal grandparents. I loved their comforting home, full of kindness. But Lucia didn't feel the same. She was often rebellious toward them. This house feels so old-fashioned. Even Grandma's clothes are outdated and ugly. Every time she acted like this, both my dad and I reprimanded her, but she didn't care. She seemed to have forgotten all the favors she received from them, acting recklessly. The only time she acted sweetly was when asking for an allowance. My grandparents, doting as they were, would inevitably give in to Lucia. This was a pattern, always. Even after she started working, Lucia would come asking for money whenever she ran out. When she got married 5 years ago, she even demanded a $10,000 wedding gift. At that point, both Dad and I harshly scolded her for her greed. What do you think you're doing with Grandma and Grandpa? Huh? It's my wedding, isn't it? What's wrong with them giving generously? My sister, as usual. You need to stop this. You're being way too selfish. Dad scolded her firmly, but in the end, Grandpa and Grandma gifted her $10,000 for her wedding. I tried to stop them, saying it wasn't necessary, but they insisted. It's fine. It's a celebration after all. If she'd at least shown some gratitude, that would have been something, but both my sister and her husband acted like they deserved it. That's why I never really liked my sister and her husband. After her wedding, I decided to keep a comfortable distance. Being too involved would only stress me out. 2 years ago, Grandpa had a stroke and became bedridden. We discussed putting him in a facility, but Grandma was adamantly against it. I'll take care of Grandpa till the end. Grandpa and Grandma have always been close, even in my eyes. It would hurt too much to separate them. But Grandma is over 80 now. It's tough for her to take care of him alone. So I made a decision. I'll move in with them. I owe them so much. They raised me, and more than anything, I want to give back. So now as a professional caregiver and as their grandchild, I'm here to support them. I requested a job transfer and moved into this house. Now I'm taking turns with Grandma to care for Grandpa. That's why I turned down night shifts at my current job. I can't thank my workplace enough for accommodating me, because you are listening to my selfishness. Grandpa looks happy today, Grandma said, wiping Grandpa's body. I think so too. It feels like he's smiling. Though bedridden and unable to speak, we felt like we understood how Grandpa was feeling that day. Life's a grind, but doing it for Grandpa and Grandma makes it all worth it. That's how much I adore my grandparents. One day, while Grandma was out at a tea party with her friends, I stayed home to take care of Grandpa's meals. Grandpa, is it good? Grandpa doesn't say a word, but his gentle eyes seem to express his gratitude. Just then, the front door swings open, pretty roughly. Oh, you're here, sis. What brings you here? It was Lucia, walking in without any hesitation. Even though she's family, her visit made me uneasy. I just came to check on Grandpa. As if she really cares about him, I thought, but I kept my mouth shut. So, how's Grandpa doing? Nothing's changed, really. She inquires, but clearly doesn't seem all that interested. By the way, where's Grandma? She's out. Need something? No big deal, just asking. I wonder what she's up to. Man, this house sure is old-fashioned. Lucia starts sizing up the house like she's evaluating it. I felt some kind of ulterior motive and became more guarded. Hey, did Grandma tell you anything? Tell me what? About Grandpa's inheritance? That left me flabbergasted. Grandpa's still alive, for heaven's sake. Why would she bring up something so insensitive? There is a limit to being unscrupulous. Why are you so concerned about this? Look, if we wait until he's gone, it'll be chaos. Better to talk about it now, don't you think? That's enough. Is this why you showed up? To discuss something like this? What's wrong with it? We have to discuss it sometime. Why are you even involved in a conversation about inheritance? Things escalated into an argument right then and there. I knew exactly what Lucia was after. She just wants money all the time. My sister's greed is really disappointing, to say the least. While we're arguing, "Oh, you're here?" Grandma comes home. "Grandma, long time no see!" My sister cozies up to Grandma like it's the most natural thing in the world. Grandma gives me a wry smile. "By the way, Grandma, could you spare some cash? I'm really strapped this month." Seeing Grandma's troubled face, I intervene. "What are you saying? You're a grown adult. Just shut it. I'm talking to Grandma here." "But Grandma, she's struggling." "That's not your concern. I'm the one she's asking." My sister looks up at Grandma with a beguiling smile. She's practically broadcasting her "give me money" vibe. It's really tacky. "I've just paid the neighborhood association fees, so I'm short on cash. Sorry, dear." Grandma skillfully sidesteps my sister's request. Is that so? Alright then, I'm leaving. Lucia backs down quickly and leaves. Relieved, I look at Grandma. "Grandma, I'm sorry." "There's nothing for you to apologize for, Annette. I bought some treats. Let's enjoy them together." Grandma smiles warmly. My sister is a real piece of work. What's she so strapped for cash for? Both of us have jobs, and neither of us have kids, so why is she asking for money? I found out soon enough. Unbeknownst to me and Dad, she and her husband had bought a house, and not just any house, a new, expansive, single-family home. Already under construction and set to be finished in 6 months. And it's located in prime real estate, no less. Are they really going to be okay building such a big house there? Dad said he didn't contribute any money, so perhaps her in-laws are helping. No point in worrying about it. If they bought the place, they must have passed the loan screening and have a repayment plan in place. That's what I thought. Until... Just as her new home was nearing completion, Grandpa passed away. Pneumonia took him quickly. I loved Grandpa, so I cried throughout the funeral. Grandma was the one who consoled me. "Grandpa was happy, Annette, especially with all the care you gave him. So let's send him off with a smile, not tears." Grandpa was happy. That single phrase gave me immense relief. Grandma's calm face was deeply comforting. Then, at a family gathering after the funeral, as Dad, Grandma, and I were reminiscing about Grandpa, my sister seemed restless next to us, whispering with her husband, both clearly unsettled. Then, with a look of determination, Lucia speaks up. "Hey, what about Grandpa's inheritance?" The room went ice cold at her words. We had just come back from the funeral, and now this? Dad quickly tried to stop Lucia. "What on earth are you talking about?" "But we need to discuss this, now!" Lucia repeats what she used to say when Grandpa was alive. Is money all she thinks about? Let's sit down and talk, okay? My sister seemed eager to move the conversation forward. Considering the size of this property and its value, it should be roughly around $1 million. When did she even have the time to look that up? Dad and I were taken aback, but Grandma just sipped her coffee calmly. "So, when is that payment due?" "Would you stop that already?" I tried to stop her, but Lucia wouldn't shut up. We based our mortgage on the inheritance. We've got to get what's coming to us. My sister's husband nodded in agreement. These two really don't have a clue. I decided to drop a bombshell on them. Grandchildren hardly have any inheritance rights, you know. What? My sister let out a baffled cry. What are you misunderstanding here? Dad asked her, puzzled. What do you mean? Why? Lucia asked Grandma, confused. Dad jumped in. Spouses and children are the inheritors, not grandchildren. Maybe when we pass, you could be next in line. No way! I didn't know that! My sister looked like she couldn't believe it. What about a will? Did Grandpa leave a will? No will. Dad always said the estate would be divided according to the law. So what are we going to do about our house payment? My sister and her husband looked devastated. What payment are you talking about? That's when my sister dropped this on me. We set a higher down payment because we thought Grandpa's inheritance was coming, and that payment is due next month. Lucia started freaking out. Apparently, they had stretched themselves thin to get that new house. I assumed they'd gotten help from my sister's in-laws, but they'd actually borrowed up to their limit. They'd planned to put down a $100,000 down payment, and now everything was off. Is there really no money left for me? Isn't there a little bit left? Despite asking Dad and Grandma again, the result was the same. No matter how much she fusses, the law won't change. Well, if there's anything left after Mom and us siblings get our share, then maybe a little will go to you, Dad said. This sent my sister into a full-on rage. This is ridiculous! All these years, my sister has been using Grandpa's money, and now I get nothing? My sister turned her anger towards me. Stop making stuff up! I never did that. Liar! You said you were caring for him, but you were really just after his inheritance. I couldn't believe my sister was thinking that way. I was at a loss for words. So, you thought it was odd, huh? Volunteering to take care of Grandpa instead of our parents. Can't think of any reason other than money. That's it! You should pay the down payment on our house. You've been siphoning money from Grandpa, haven't you? She hurled those words at me with a smug look on her face. Angry and sad, I just clenched my lips, unable to say anything. Then Grandma, who had been quietly sipping her coffee, spoke up. How dare you speak to Annette like that? You foolish grandchild! Everyone was shocked by Grandma's usually gentle and calm tone. Relying on that kind of money to build a house is wrong in the first place, isn't it? But Grandma, we're really in a bind. Figure it out yourselves. Rebuked sternly by Grandma, Lucia fell silent. You need to reconsider how you're living your life. You're on a path to ruin, Dad added. Shaken, Lucia and her husband left, as if running away. Afterward, they couldn't make the down payment in time and tried to restructure the loan, but they were not approved. They never even set foot in the newly built house before they had to give it up. My sister resisted tearfully, but there was nothing she could do. In the end, they were left with a debt of $200,000. My sister lamented, I should have never bought the house. But it was too late. I heard they're now working day and night to pay off their debts. It's astonishing that they don't understand the basics of inheritance. After giving up the house, my sister came several times to ask Dad for money, but Dad firmly refused. She even turned to me. Sis, please help your cute little sister. Cute sister, huh? I too declined, saying, sorry, I can't afford to. I do have enough savings, but I see no obligation to lend it, especially with no assurance of getting it back. Why won't you help me? I'm in trouble. Despite her pleading, I remained unswayed. Take this as a lesson. Stop relying on others. I gave her some advice, but who knows if it'll sink in. By the way, Grandma, what is it? A month and a half later, I asked Grandma something that had been on my mind. Why did you say that to Lucia? I was stunned to hear Grandma's harsh tone, since I'd never seen her angry or yelling before. Because she was so unkind to you, Annette, when you've been so good to Grandpa. No matter how much I love my granddaughter, I couldn't forgive her for what she said to you. Tears filled my eyes, touched that Grandma thought so highly of me. Thank you, Annette. Grandma, I should be the one thanking you. If I'm gone someday, I think I'll leave this house and land to you, Annette. Oh, stop talking like that. I'm happy to have such a loving granddaughter. I have no regrets whenever my time comes. Though Grandma says this, I want her to live for as long as possible. That's what fills my thoughts. I plan to continue showing my gratitude to Grandma. Grandma, let's keep it going.
Where is she? The company's going under. Hurry up. Come quickly. We can't do it without you. That one? We don't need her. I dumped her. Mwahahaha. Dad, it's me. I need your help with something just in case. We were enjoying a company trip in Jackson Hole, Wyoming for 2 nights and 3 days, but trouble arose on the day of checkout. Something was off. I was the only one at the entrance. When I asked the hotel staff about the situation, I was informed of the shocking truth. Feeling a bit uneasy, I decided to initiate the secret plan for the sake of the company. My name is Madison Carter. I'm 25 years old and single. My family consists of my dad, mom, and me. I've lived a comfortable life since childhood. An example of how comfortable my life has been is that my mom has always been a stay-at-home mom. When I tell my friends that my mom is a stay-at-home mom, they're always surprised. It's probably because stay-at-home moms have become rare in this day and age. On the other hand, my dad's occupation has always been unclear, even when asking him or mom about it. However, when I graduated from college, my parents told me the truth during a family dinner at a restaurant. We've been vague about your dad's job, but the reason we've had a comfortable life is because he's been working hard as an investor. We really wanted to tell you before you started high school, but your mom stopped me. Oh, really? I kind of had a feeling. To be honest, I didn't know my dad was an investor, but seeing him and his sharp gaze when talking about money, economic magazines, news, and the way he handled phone calls, I knew he didn't have a regular job. My parents laughed at my nonchalant response, saying I was definitely their daughter. I laughed along with them. A few years passed since then, and now I work at a certain company. Fortunately, it was a job seeker's market in my time, so I could enter any industry. I chose IT because I thought it could be a workplace where women could excel and working from home was possible. That being said, if I were to work remotely for 2 or 3 years after joining the company, I would fall behind my peers and would need to learn the job on my own. So now I go to the office 5 days a week. Actually, my IT company is a traditional sports-oriented company, and today we are on a company trip to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. The hotel in the mountains of Jackson Hole provided a high-quality and well-maintained space that healed our urban hearts. The attendees included managers, and the executives were said to be staying at the company. The managers complained about the executives while getting tipsy. Everyone was enjoying themselves in their own way, attending small talk, performing party tricks, and taking baths in the relaxing hot springs. And then on the last day of the 2-night, 3-day trip, a problem occurred because I was left at the inn. No way. I rushed to the front desk to ask about the status of the group bus, and I was supposed to be aboard. It was already departed. We asked the group leader if there was anyone who missed the bus, but there's no benefit for the hotel staff to lie to me, so there's only one person to blame. Senior, I'll hold the grudge, okay? What got left behind is at the meeting time the director had told me the day before was incorrect. What I heard from the director was we were going to meet at 2 p.m. or 1400. However, according to the hotel staff, the meeting was at 10 a.m. and the bus departure was at 10:30. With no other choice, I decided to call my coworker, Leanne. After the phone rang for a while, an automatic message played. I'm currently unable to answer the call. Please leave a message after the beep. I called her 5 times. 5 out of the 5 times, it was the voicemail greeting on her phone. That means she's probably on the plane and unreachable for a few hours. This is quite a predicament. If I could have had my way, I'd be back by 1 p.m. tomorrow. The reason is I have to attend a company meeting. The president also told me that I must attend tomorrow's meeting. Speaking of which, I wonder if something's up since the president seems so worried. For now, I'll try calling the president next. After the beep. It was the same as Leanne, which was a problem. Just in case, I'll try calling the president one more time. After the beep. It wasn't a hallucination, so I reluctantly leave a message for the president. Mr. President, I apologize due to various circumstances I was left behind on the company trip. There's a chance I might not be able to attend the important meeting tomorrow. It's not my fault. There's nothing I can do. Normally, as a working adult, one should pay out of their own pocket to return. However, that's only when there's negligence on their part. In this case, I'm not at fault. In fact, I'm the one who got set up by my senior, and I want to complain a bit. Now, the problem is the senior who left me behind. I haven't done anything to upset him. That leaves either they simply dislike me or they don't like about me. The answer is probably both. But setting up a trap for me today with the meeting tomorrow, he's only strangling himself. The moment the president notices, there'll be a major panic in the company. Honestly, I'm reluctant to rely on them for such a personal issue, but it might be better to take out all the insurance I can. And so I begin calling the first person I registered in my phone's contacts. Hello? Dad? It's me, Madison. I got a bit of an emergency. The company who had just disembarked the plane started boarding the bus and arranged at the airport. While helping female employees load their luggage onto the bus, I caught sight of 3 missed calls and 1 message left on my phone screen. From Madison. Come to think of it, she wasn't there. I immediately played the message left in the voicemail service. Leanne, it's me, Madison. It looks like I was tricked by a senior and left at the hotel in Steamboat Springs. I have an important meeting tomorrow, but it's unclear if I can attend. Can you casually ask the senior why I'm not there? Inwardly, I was puzzled. What the heck was going on? Besides that, despite having an important meeting, Madison seemed surprisingly calm. In fact, I'm more flustered than her upon receiving the news. Anyway, I need to find out why Madison was left behind before thinking of my own feelings. Since the senior had just come to the bus, I casually asked him. It seems like Madison's missing. Oh, her? We left her behind. She must be panicking at the hotel right now. Come on, is this person serious? Sure, he has been tough on Madison lately, but that's because his work quality is worse than hers. And he's laughing about it too? I want to get angry right now, but I try to stay calm and continue the conversation. Sir, Madison mentioned that she had an important meeting tomorrow. What meeting? Is it something I know about? At this point, I felt like our conversation wasn't going well. Could this be a big problem? Sir, I'll check with Madison right away. Senior seemed flustered by my hurry and hesitated with a small voice, their eyes darting around. I quickly took out my phone and called Madison in a quiet place. Hello, Madison? It turns out the senior was messing with you. I thought so. That's enough for me, thanks. Madison seemed pretty calm on the phone. To me, the important meeting is the priority. Are you okay for the important meeting? Oh, I've taken care of that. I had to rely on someone I'd rather not, but it's done. Madison's words were somewhat vague. I double-checked to make sure everything was okay. Are you really sure you're okay? Yeah, I'm fine, Madison said from the other end of the phone. I decided to believe her. I went back to my senior and shared what Madison and I had talked about. My senior seemed relieved and laughed with a strained expression. Meanwhile, Madison was enjoying a luxurious stay at the hotel in Jackson Hole where she was left behind. She had informed her coworker Leanne and left a message for the boss. He also reluctantly used the insurance she did not want to rely on. With all this done, there was nothing left for her to do. The only thing left was to get back at the senior who tricked her, and so she enjoyed her extravagant stay. She could charge the additional night to the company or even pay for it herself if necessary. She couldn't get through a day like this without enjoying herself. After going back and forth between the sauna, outdoor pool, and enjoying the heated stone lounge, it was time for dinner. Before her was fresh seafood from the Pacific and locally sourced vegetables and meat. The delicious flavors overwhelmed her, turning her worst day into the best one. Where are you right now? The boss's loud voice woke her from a morning phone call. I'm at Jackson Hole Hotel, where a company trip is. The boss understood her situation and instantly was silent for several minutes. Boss? Hello? Are you listening? No response. Maybe they're dumbstruck. Today's an important meeting. The company's rivals at stake. I just got a call from the bank saying they might stop our loan. As it turns out, the company had been struggling with cash flow recently. That's why today's meeting was crucial. The boss sounded frantic, even over the phone. Their face must be pale, even the hairless top of their head turning white. With this incident, they might even have to say goodbye to any remaining fuzz. Don't worry, we've taken necessary precautions. I assured the president, who seemed to find a glimmer of hope in my calm demeanor. We have insurance in place, so everything will be fine. More importantly, I have something to discuss with you about Mr. Wilson. After about an hour, I explained the events of the company trip to the president. The unexpected turn of events left the president speechless for a while. It was understandable, given that an important meeting was scheduled for today and the person who should be present was absent because of a prank. We'll just make it in time for the meeting, and we have the worst case scenario covered by insurance, so don't worry, I said, ending the conversation and hanging up the phone. Of course, Mr. Wilson must have received a good scolding from the president. Now it's time to prepare to leave the hotel and catch a flight. I left the hotel, boarded the plane, and took a bus to the office, arriving just in time for the 2 p.m. meeting. As soon as I entered the conference room, the president looked like he was about to cry. The other participants who had arrived early forced a smile. But the truth was, even if I had been late, today's meeting would have been successful. I have known in advance that my father was involved in the current loan matter. I kept silent because it wasn't something to share within the company, but after what Mr. Wilson did, I had no choice but to use it as my trump card. My father, after hearing my story, said, "Your decision was rational and good, Madison. You sought the best outcome based on your own judgment. No parent would refuse to help with that." To be honest, I felt like I owed my dad a favor as a working adult. Although I wanted to surpass my father, it was against my intentions to use him. But I like everyone in my workplace, except for Mr. Wilson. That's why I wanted to save them this time, even if it meant bending my own policy. Since the meeting is over and I'm exhausted from flying in from Jackson Hole, I'd like to go home early today. I said it, not really meaning it, and left the company's conference room. By the way, I haven't heard about Mr. Wilson's situation. I wonder what happened. I wonder if he'll come into work tomorrow. As I pondered these thoughts, I headed home. The next day I saw Mr. Wilson. His face was still gloomy. When I asked Leanne, she said the president had scolded him severely. On top of that, his planned promotion was canceled. It's like adding insult to injury. I approached him and, pretending not to know anything, said, "Let's do our best again, senior." Mr. Wilson, hanging his head in disappointment, could only muster a weak reply. "It's better than being fired, and it'll be a lesson for him in the future. Now let's focus on today's tasks."
You don't even know that? Typical high school dropout. How have you been surviving all this time? Susanna, my sister-in-law, always made fun of my educational background. She seemed to think that education was the most important thing in life, ignoring the fact that there are many other important aspects. My name is Rosalind, and I'm a 28-year-old CEO of an IT company. I met my husband, Clifton, through work, and we eventually got married. We currently rent a condo and live together. We both have incomes, so whoever can do the housework does it. However, I rarely have days off and usually get home late, so Clifton ends up doing most of the housework. Despite his own busy schedule, he never complains and takes care of everything. He never gets mad at me for focusing on my job and always encourages me, saying, "I'm rooting for you." I felt blessed to be married to someone like Clifton. Life with Clifton was comfortable and peaceful. The only issue was Susanna, my sister-in-law. When I first met her after getting engaged to Clifton, I greeted her, "Nice to meet you, Susanna. I'm Rosalind. Looking forward to getting to know you." Her immediate response was, "What's your highest level of education?" I was taken aback. Was that really the first thing to ask? I was annoyed but didn't want to make a scene at our first meeting, so I answered honestly. I dropped out. Upon hearing this, Susanna burst into laughter. "A dropout? Why would my brother marry someone so dumb? You should definitely reconsider." She said this right in front of me. "Susanna, what are you saying? Education has nothing to do with marriage," Clifton quickly retorted. "We are an elite family, you know. It's unacceptable for the eldest son's wife to be dumb. Maybe you should rethink this, bro, huh?" It was true. Clifton's parents were well educated and wealthy, and both he and Susanna had graduated from prestigious universities. "Susanna, cut it out. Rosalind built her own company from scratch. Are you still going to talk about education? People who drop out are the ones who think they can start companies. Hey, watch your mouth. Your company will probably go under soon anyway. Enough is enough. Clifton was getting really angry on my behalf. I was so furious, but I didn't want to cause a sibling fight, so I stopped Clifton. It's okay, Clifton, I can handle it. I had faced similar criticisms when starting my company, so I was somewhat used to it. In fact, it fueled my determination to prove them wrong. I could tolerate Susanna's snide remarks once or twice, but it didn't stop there. Sister-in-law, I'm here to visit. Susanna often came over to our house to mock me for being a dropout, make snide comments, and even brag about herself. You're here again, Susanna? Is it a problem? No, not really. But Susanna looked around our home and said, Do you even do housework, sister-in-law? I do. We are dual income, so Clifton takes care of it often. My poor brother, having a wife like you must be tough. What do you mean? You're dumb but still working, and because of that, you can't even do housework properly, right? If you are a dropout, you should just be a stay-at-home wife. At this point, I was getting really angry at Susanna's words. So, how is your company doing, sister-in-law? I wondered why I had to share such information with her, but I answered anyway. It's going pretty well, I think. Really? You must be running at a loss. That's not the case. I thought you'd go under sooner, but you are hanging in there. Thanks. And it's surprising that employees are willing to work under a dropout CEO. I would never. I couldn't take it anymore, so I decided to change the subject. Aren't you planning to get a job, Susanna? She had graduated last year but still hadn't found a job. I don't need to worry. Unlike you, I graduated from a prestigious university. I'm taking my time to find a good company. Oh, I see. All my friends are working at big companies. My university is really something. And there she went, bragging about herself again. A lot of people from my university get jobs at big companies, and many became CEOs. Susanna kept making snide remarks and bragging every time she visited. It was more bearable when Clifton was around to defend me, but it was really tough when I was alone. I didn't know what she might say to my in-laws, so all I could do was endure it. As much as I could turn frustration into motivation, I was getting tired of Susanna's relentless jabs. Then, one day, she suddenly announced she was getting married. Oh, you're getting married! Congratulations! Thank you. My fiancé is a Harvard graduate and very accomplished. Oh, I see. I couldn't help but think she chose her partner based solely on education. What does he do for a living? He is in IT, and he works for a pretty good company. I see. It's not a big corporation, but it's a rapidly growing company that's quite famous around here. Ah, okay. And they have a very competent female CEO. Nothing like you, the dropout CEO. None of your business. Do your best to keep your company from going under. She was even more obnoxious than usual, perhaps because she was excited about her upcoming marriage. Oh, and please don't come to the wedding. Why not? If his family finds out there's a dropout among us, the engagement might be called off. You wouldn't want that on your conscience, would you? I was dumbfounded by her ridiculous statement. Why would your engagement be called off just because I'm a dropout? That's absurd. I don't know. I just want to eliminate any risk factors, so please don't come. Fine. On the day of the wedding, I was actually considering not going since Susanna told me not to. But Clifton was angry, saying, "She's family. It would be weird not to go. What is she thinking?" So I decided to attend Susanna's wedding. However, when I arrived at the venue, she rushed over to me, saying, "Why are you here, sister-in-law? You weren't invited. Please leave immediately." Susanna ran up to me and tried to kick me out. "We don't even have a seat for you. It would be inconvenient if you stayed." "Enough, Susanna, stop it!" As Clifton was about to get angry, the groom's parents came from behind and said, "Oh, you're here, CEO." They bowed their heads to me. "We're always grateful for how you take care of our son." Both of them bowed to me. No, the pleasure is mine. Congratulations on this occasion." Susanna looked stunned at the exchange between me and the groom's parents. "Wait, what's going on? Do you know each other?" I had no choice but to explain. "Your husband, Victor, works for me." "What do you mean?" Whether she didn't want to believe it or was just too shocked to understand, Susanna seemed clueless. "So, I'm the CEO of the company where Victor works." "The competent female CEO you were talking about? That's me." "What? No way!" Finally, grasping the situation, Susanna was visibly flustered. "That's a lie! There's no way!" "It's not a lie. Victor told me about the engagement recently. It's a small world." "I don't believe you." Susanna didn't want to accept this fact and stubbornly refused to believe it. Just then, Victor arrived. "What's going on?" He seemed to have rushed over, sensing some sort of commotion. "Nothing, it's fine." I decided to brush it off, not wanting to make a scene. "Anyway, thank you for coming, boss." Victor bowed deeply to me. "Of course, I am happy to attend your wedding, Victor." "That's it." Hearing Victor call me boss, Susanna finally seemed to believe it. She was at a loss for words. "Your seat is prepared over there, boss." "Thank you." It turned out Victor had prepared a seat for me, even though Susanna hadn't. I wasn't invited by you, but I was by Victor. For the rest of the wedding, Susanna's face was tense. She even tripped while walking down the aisle, making for an awkward scene. Victor was also upset with her, saying, "What's gotten into you today?" I couldn't help but laugh at Susanna's sudden change in attitude. "I'm sorry for the terrible things I've said before, but I've always thought you were amazing, sister-in-law." I could only respond with a wry smile. "Is that so?" "You are a CEO while balancing work and home life. That's incredible." "Ah, thank you. You've built a successful company despite being a dropout." I was slightly irritated, expecting her to bring up education again. "Being a dropout has nothing to do with it." When I responded a bit strongly, Susanna immediately apologized. "Oh, sorry, you're right, it doesn't matter." Maybe she was worried about upsetting me and jeopardizing her husband's job. She started trying to win me over. "There are many things more important than education." "Exactly, you can always study. Being a dropout doesn't mean you can't be a CEO." "You're so right, I admire you." "Ah, sure." It felt strange to hear such words from Susanna. I had to laugh a few times, but it was better than being belittled or hearing snide remarks. After that, Susanna was planning to start her own business instead of getting a job. She was flattering me on the surface, but she must have been frustrated deep down. Since my sister-in-law, a dropout, could do it, there is no reason I can't. Susanna probably thought that way, but she gave up on her business venture within a few months. "So, you tried starting a business? How'd it go?" I deliberately asked Susanna after hearing from Clifton that she had given up. "Not so well." "Oh, really? I realized once again how amazing you are." "Good to hear." Susanna was smiling and talking cheerfully, but her expression was tense. She must have been quite frustrated. She then tried to find a regular job, but had no luck. Then she said she wanted to join my company. "You want to work at my company?" "Yes, please." She probably thought she'd get hired easily through connections. "I've always wanted to work here." She even told such an obvious lie. "Weren't you the one who said you didn't want to work under a dropout CEO?" When I said that, she tried to dodge. "Did I say that? Must have been my imagination." I wasn't going to forget that. At that point, I didn't want to work with her, but I decided to ask her some more questions. "So, what qualifications do you have, Susanna?" "Qualifications? We are an IT company, so having IT-related qualifications would help, but it's fine if you don't." Not really." "Did you not get any qualifications in college?" "I have some, but..." The qualifications she got in college were trivial and easily obtainable by anyone. "So, what can you contribute to the company?" Nothing, really." I could see why she was having a hard time finding a job despite graduating from a prestigious university. "What did you study in college? Or did you just play around for 4 years?" "I was an excellent student." Being good at school doesn't mean you are good at work. Companies don't need people like that. I was just giving my opinion as a CEO, but Susanna got angry. "Don't belittle me. I have a degree. I have confidence that I'm better than most people." That's called baseless confidence. We hire based on ability, not education. Sorry, you're not a fit. "What? So we can't hire you?" "That's ridiculous! Why wouldn't you hire me?" She was furious, probably because she was rejected by a dropout like me. "It's fair. You've been rejected by every company you applied to, right?" "Well, that's... Victor is doing well, and we are paying him a decent salary. You could live on his income alone. Why not be a housewife?" I can't believe this. Just give up on finding a job. After that, Susanna gave up on employment and became a housewife. Just like I suggested. But she couldn't cook or even do laundry. She had always relied on others and never did anything herself. It seems like Susanna couldn't even become a housewife. Even Victor was getting frustrated with her. Now she's learning housework while getting scolded by Victor's mom every day. Who knows when she'll become a competent housewife. Her friends made snide comments. "You graduated from college but couldn't find a job and had to become a housewife? How embarrassing." It must have been a huge blow to her pride. She became quite depressed and lost her energy. On the other hand, everything's going well for me. The company is growing, we are hiring more staff, and my workload had decreased. I've even managed to catch up on housework and cooking. The only stressor, Susanna, has quieted down, so I'm living fulfilling days.
You can't have kids, so you're losing to me as a woman. You might be done as a woman, but if I say I'm single, men flock to me, you know? Just like that, Jennifer, the wife of my brother-in-law Jason, always looked down on me. I always felt stressed out because of Jennifer. But I never imagined that Jennifer had such a secret. My name is Emily. Right now, I'm dealing with a very troubling issue. The stress from my brother-in-law's wife is overwhelming. Jason's wife's name is Jennifer. She's the daughter of a former CEO, and she's quite headstrong. Jennifer's family company seems to have gone bankrupt, but she still acts like a spoiled princess. She's the type who isn't satisfied unless she's the best at everything. Because of this, she always treats me with an excessively superior attitude. Lately, she seems to be upset that I'm closer with Patricia than I am with her. The other day, when Patricia was thanking me, Jennifer saw it and said, "Trying to be the perfect daughter-in-law is so annoying." Living together even though you're the wife of the youngest son? You must be after the inheritance. La! I can understand why Jason's wife feels this way, but there's no reason for her to say such things. The reason being, it was Jennifer, Jason's wife, who refused to live with Patricia. I mean, if she didn't like me being close to Patricia, she should have lived with her in the first place. Initially, Jason's family was going to live together, but right before moving, Jason's wife refused. Moreover, she said, "Living together is so old-fashioned. Patricia should go to a facility." Because of that, my husband and I stepped up. Patricia is a gentle person, and I had no reservations about living with her. Jennifer kept pushing for a facility until the end, but after discussions, my husband and I decided to live with Patricia. Even then, Jason's wife complained, saying, "You don't really want to live together, but you're acting like the perfect wife, which makes me look bad. It seems like I'm the inadequate wife compared to you." On the day we began living together, I received a message from Jennifer. The message read, "I won't be taking care of Patricia at all. You handle all the caregiving." And to think, I never expected Jennifer to help out in the first place. The reason being, Jennifer doesn't do housework. Well, to be precise, she doesn't even try. Whether it's remnants of her princess upbringing or just plain laziness, I don't know. Despite not working outside, it seems she leaves all the household tasks to Jason. Jason works for a major company and is quite accomplished, but he seems to have poor judgment when it comes to women. He's head over heels for Jennifer and tends to do whatever she says. Because of this, Jennifer takes advantage of his affection and becomes even more arrogant. Jennifer occasionally visits our home and always makes unreasonable requests, acting as if she sees me as her maid. Yesterday she dumped a pile of clothes on me and said, "Emily, iron all of these for me." "I can't because I'm afraid of getting burned." Do they think I'm always free just because I work as a web writer from home? Sorry, but I'm busy with work and can't do that. When I refused, she scoffed and said, "Work? Aren't you just staring at a computer? Stop playing and do as I say." I'm not playing. This is my job. Jennifer, since you have so much free time, why don't you try doing it yourself? Ironing isn't that hard, you know? When I talked back, she glared at me and said, "Do you enjoy bullying me like that?" Jennifer always acts high and mighty, but the moment I push back even a little, she suddenly plays the victim. I said with exasperation, "I'm not bullying you. Isn't it more like you're bullying me, always pushing work on me every day?" Upon hearing that, she ran to Patricia in the next room and started complaining. "Patricia, she called me useless just because I can't iron. I can't because of my chronic pain in my hands." "Is that so? I'll iron it for you. Just leave it there," said Patricia, the mother-in-law, kindly to Jennifer. Even after that, Jennifer badmouthed me to Patricia and then left with a contented look. After Jennifer left, Patricia called me over and said, "I'm sorry, Emily. I have to agree with Jennifer, or things will get even more troublesome." Patricia apologized to me, looking remorseful. "It's okay, Patricia. You did nothing wrong. I knew Patricia trusted me." Even the kind-hearted Patricia was having a tough time with the eldest son's wife. Then one day, something happened. Jason, the brother-in-law, called Patricia on the phone. Jennifer was pregnant. "It's her first time, so Jennifer might be nervous. I'm counting on you." That's what Jason apparently told Patricia. To be honest, I couldn't genuinely rejoice. The reason being, I've been trying to get pregnant for the past 3 years. My husband and I, both loving children dearly, have been waiting for this blessing. but it hadn't come our way. I had undergone fertility treatments until recently, but it was mentally and financially draining, so I had to quit. And now, Jennifer's pregnancy. Knowing this, I was certain Jennifer would flaunt her superiority over me. She'd always acted superior about her looks, upbringing, financial status, and other things, but now it would be about having a child, something that would hurt me deeply. The very next day, Jennifer arrived clearly in a good mood. Sure enough, as soon as she saw me, she said, "Being pregnant is so hard. There's morning sickness, fatigue, and your body doesn't move like it used to. You probably wouldn't understand since you've never been pregnant." That must be tough. Holding back the surge of negative emotions, I replied. She then stretched out her leg to me and said, "Yeah, it is. Oh, my legs feel so swollen. Emily, can you give me a massage?" "Excuse me?" Jennifer, seeing my confusion, pressed on, saying, "Poor circulation is bad for the baby. You'll massage them for me, right?" It almost sounded like a threat. With no choice, I began massaging Jennifer's feet. While I massaged, she boasted, "The real happiness for a woman is having a child. A life without kids is just like trash. Emily, you should have kids soon. If you wait too long, you'll miss out on being a real woman." By the time Jennifer left, my heart was torn apart, and I genuinely wished to never see Jennifer again. But she continued to come over, claiming, "I'm pregnant, so I deserve to be spoiled." And she became even more demanding. Dealing with Jennifer like this, I felt immense stress and even developed alopecia areata. Eventually, as her pregnancy progressed, Jennifer safely gave birth to twin girls via a cesarean section. The names of the children are Rebecca and Nancy. The two girls were so angelic and adorable, it was hard to believe they were Jennifer's children. The stress from Jennifer was still present, but the children's presence healed my heart. About 2 years passed. Jason decided to move to a location a bit far off. But Jennifer didn't want to go to the countryside, so Jason chose to go on his own, leaving his family behind. As soon as Jason was away, Jennifer started acting out. She began to visit our home daily with the kids in tow. And she would leave the children with me and head out into the night. She went out so often that when I confronted her, she'd retort, "I need a break sometimes. What would you do if I got a breakdown from child rearing? Would you take responsibility?" So it became routine for me to cook dinner for the kids, feed them, and bathe them. Taking care of the adorable Rebecca and Nancy wasn't a burden for me. In fact, not having children of my own, I cherished the motherly feeling. However, the young Rebecca and Nancy would sometimes cry out, "Where's Mommy?" Every time, it felt like my heart was being crushed. It seemed Patricia felt the same way, saying with a saddened tone, "Where could she possibly go every day, leaving such little ones behind?" I felt so sorry for Rebecca and Nancy that I decided to contact Jason. When I explained the situation, he exclaimed, "What? This has been happening while I'm away?" He immediately apologized, saying, "I'm so sorry for causing trouble for Patricia." "No worries, but don't you think it's a good idea to look into what Jennifer is up to?" When I mentioned that, Jason responded, seemingly flustered, "I can't investigate her. I trust Jennifer, you know." I sighed and said, "It's because you're like this, Jason, that Jennifer does whatever she wants. For the sake of Rebecca and Nancy, please find out if she's cheating on you right away." Though initially reluctant, Jason's resistance faded under my determination. He hesitantly agreed to hire a detective to investigate any infidelity. A month later, As usual, Jennifer dropped off the kids and left. However, that day, she didn't return even after midnight. I tried contacting Jennifer's cell phone multiple times, but couldn't get through. I had no choice but to reach out to Jason. A few hours later, Jason, coming from afar, whispered while looking at the sleeping faces of Rebecca and Nancy, "I've about reached my limit." Given the late hour that night, Rebecca, Nancy, and Jason all stayed at our house. Jennifer finally returned the next morning. As I was preparing breakfast, a cheerful Jennifer arrived, reeking of alcohol, and said, "I'm back." Where were you? What were you thinking? Even as I confronted her angrily, Jennifer just laughed it off irresponsibly. Going out without a word, partying all night, don't you have any sense of responsibility as a mother? When I pressed her further, her expression suddenly changed. She snapped, "You think you're so righteous. You don't have kids, so you'll never understand my stress." I was so furious that I fell silent. Jennifer, with a smug look on her face, continued, "You can't have kids, which means you lose to me in every way as a woman. Be it looks, upbringing, finances, I'm superior in every aspect. And if I was single, I'd have countless men chasing after me, you know." "Don't you feel sorry for Rebecca and Nancy?" I asked, exasperated. She snapped back, "Feel sorry? What would you, a childless woman, know about it? Don't pretend you understand. Enough is enough. If you're their mother, at least make dinner for them." I didn't back down and countered, "You sure talk a lot, especially for someone who doesn't have kids." Just as Jennifer shouted back, there was a sudden splash. A splash out of nowhere. Patricia, who had been in the kitchen, had thrown soup from a pot all over Jennifer. "Ah! What are you doing?" Jennifer cried out, both shocked and upset. I was equally stunned, unable to believe what I had just witnessed. Jennifer, now drenched in soup, stood there, completely taken aback. Just then, alerted by Jennifer's screaming, her husband and Jason rushed into the kitchen. Alerted by Jennifer's screams, her husband and Jason quickly entered the kitchen. Seeing Jason, Jennifer immediately cried out, "Jason, help me! Patricia and Emily have been so cruel to me." But Jason responded coldly, "Don't touch me," and pushed Jennifer away. What's gotten into you, Jason?" Jennifer, her face flushed with embarrassment, began to panic. "Everyone here knows about your late-night escapades," I told her pointedly. The color drained from Jennifer's face. "What are you talking about? What do you know?" Jennifer demanded, her face beet red. Jason shouted, "I know about your affair. We're getting a divorce." In truth, about a week earlier, we had gathered at a local restaurant without Jennifer. During this gathering, Jason had shared the results of the investigation into her infidelity with us. According to the investigation, Jennifer was out hunting for men in nightclubs and bars almost every night. When she found someone she liked, they would head to a hotel. That seemed to be her pattern. Once Jason learned of Jennifer's betrayal, he was set on the path to divorce and started making preparations immediately. "Divorce? I don't want that!" Panic evident in her voice. However, Jason firmly stated, "We have all the evidence. Please leave immediately. I'll take custody of the kids." Jennifer suddenly burst into laughter, smugly retorting, "Humph! You, always engrossed in your work, could never handle raising kids on your own. You can't do it without me." I countered Jennifer's arrogance. "Don't worry. I'll take full responsibility for raising the children." "What?" Jennifer glared at me, utterly confused by what I had just said. But Jason firmly stated, "I've asked everyone here. From now on, we'll all raise the children together, so we'll be fine without you." Even Jennifer seemed to be in shock at Jason's declaration. She resisted at first, but when faced with the overwhelming evidence of her affairs, it appeared she realized her situation was hopeless. Still reeking of soup, she resignedly filled out the divorce papers. In despair, Jennifer uttered, "What will become of me now, having lost everything?" I couldn't resist and retorted, "I'm sure you'll be fine after the divorce, Jennifer. After all, didn't you just boast about how you'd have tons of men flocking to you if you were single?" Jennifer broke down in tears at my words. It was the moment when all the resentment I'd held against her seemed to finally dissipate. After the divorce was finalized, Jason continued working in the countryside for a while. As a result, my husband and I primarily took on the responsibility of raising Rebecca and Nancy. I never managed to have children of my own, but I've been blessed with the joy of raising the adorable Rebecca and Nancy. Patricia, too, looks delighted playing with her granddaughters every day. While I was worried about them not having their mother around, it's evident that Rebecca and Nancy are thriving, surrounded by our love. With Jennifer gone, a peaceful life finally graced our home. As for Jennifer, I heard she's been juggling part-time jobs and living in a cheap apartment. Having never worked before, Jennifer seems to be struggling constantly losing jobs or quitting. On top of her living expenses, she has to pay compensation to Jason. It seems she's been long cut off from her family, so with no one to rely on, her life sounds pretty tough. Jennifer, who always held herself above others, probably can't maintain such an attitude anymore. I genuinely hope this turn of events encourages her to change and live a more humble life.
My name is Amelia. I'm a 40-year-old housewife. My husband Charlton is 35, and we have been married for 5 years. We are a happy couple, just the two of us. I grew up with just my dad, who worked a corporate job after my mom passed away when I was young. I was always worried that if I got married, my dad would be left alone. Even when I was dating someone, I hesitated to take the plunge into marriage. Whenever I talked about my hesitation, people would say it's because I'm a daddy's girl who loves her father too much. That's when I met my current husband. He understood how much I care for my dad and even said he would be okay with us living with him. That sealed the deal, and I decided to marry him. My dad was thrilled when I told him the news.
"I am so happy. Now I can face your mother in heaven. Don't worry about me, just focus on being happy with Charlton. Charlton, please, take good care of my daughter. Make her happy, especially because she has had to struggle with just one parent."
My dad had never said it, but he had been worried that my being raised by a single parent might be a reason for me not getting married. He also runs a real estate agency while working his corporate job. We received a new house as a wedding gift from my dad and lived happily. Then, 2 years ago, my dad retired at 65. After retiring, he seemed to lose his energy and seemed to age rapidly. So I started calling him every day and visiting him regularly to check on him. My husband's work schedule changed, leading to more overtime, so I started visiting my dad even more. One day, I couldn't reach my dad at the usual time, so I went to check on him. I found him collapsed in the bathroom. I called an ambulance immediately, but he never regained consciousness. Tests revealed he had suffered a brain hemorrhage and was hospitalized. I visited him every day, but he never woke up and eventually passed away. I held back my tears as I said my final goodbyes and began arranging the funeral. The funeral was a small family affair, but some relatives showed up claiming they were promised inheritance. Thankfully, my dad had left a will in my name, so I inherited all his savings and properties. I felt my dad's love even after he was gone, and it filled my heart. I had no idea that more challenges were yet to come. My husband's family is generally sensible, but there is one sister-in-law who's terrible with money. Hey, Amelia! You inherited from your dad, right? We're sisters now, even if it's by marriage. Help me out, I'm in trouble. She's been in debt and has been asking for money quite shamelessly. I've been turning her down, but it's getting stressful. Then one day, I received an email. It was an invitation to a class reunion. As I was pondering whether to attend the class reunion, my husband Charlton spoke up.
What's got you looking so serious?
There's a class reunion coming up, but I'm not really in the mood, especially after Dad passed away.
Maybe it will be a good change of pace. Your dad wouldn't want you to be down all the time.
You're right. Encouraged by my husband, I decided to go to the reunion. When the day arrived, I was enjoying catching up with old friends. While I was alone getting a new drink, a classmate approached me.
Amelia, long time no see.
Sorry? Who are you?
Ouch, don't recognize me, I'm Cody.
I couldn't quite remember him, but he seemed to know me.
Wanna catch up?
Just then, one of my old friends called out, Amelia, where's that drink? Snapping back to reality, I said, sorry, my friends are waiting, and left. My friend quickly approached me looking concerned. Are you okay? Did that guy bother you? No, we were just talking. He said his name was Cody, but who is he? He's that unreliable playboy from the baseball team. Good looking and athletic, remember? Oh, right. He looks different now, so I didn't recognize him. Be careful, he's still a playboy. And he was eyeing you. Come on, I'm married. I'm not exactly young anymore. I laughed it off then, but Cody kept trying to engage me. I managed to avoid him until the end of the first part of the reunion, but then he cornered me.
Why are you avoiding me, Amelia? It hurts. Are you maybe interested in me?
Don't be ridiculous.
Why so defensive? Just be honest.
I'm married, you know.
So, plenty of married people still play around. Plus, I have always liked you. How about we go for drinks?
No, thank you. If you want to drink, go to the after party. I managed to shake him off and caught a taxi home. I thought that would be the last of Cody, but more trouble was waiting for me. The next day, while I was working at the cafe, where I have a part-time job, a familiar man walked in. As I approached with a glass of water, I realized it was Cody. What are you doing here?
Just a coincidence. Lucky me, running into Amelia.
Don't lie. Who told you?
Relax. Let me place an order first. 1 blended coffee.
Reluctantly, I took his order and made his coffee. Leave after you finish this.
It says unlimited refills during this time. I'll take my time.
After Cody took his sweet time chatting and sipping 3 cups of coffee, he finally paid his bill.
Just so you know, I'll be a regular here from now on,
he said, ignoring the atmosphere. I couldn't exactly kick out a customer, so I found myself serving Cody every day. I tried talking to my manager, but without any real harm done, there was nothing they could do. I wanted to consult my husband, but he was swamped with work and rarely home. Then, on a day off from my part-time job, I returned from shopping to a shocking sight.
Welcome back, Amelia. You're late.
Cody was at my house. How did you find out where I live?
Who knows? Maybe we're just fated to be together?
Stop being creepy and leave.
Why not ditch your workaholic husband and be with me? I'll treat you right.
Cody tried to put his arm around me. A chill ran down my spine and I had had enough. I pushed him away. Days later, my sister-in-law visited while my husband was home. We need to talk, they both said, looking serious.
You have been acting strange since the reunion. You're seeing another man, aren't you?
What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. We have evidence. Sister-in-law flipped over the envelope she was holding. Out spilled a bunch of photos of me hanging out with a guy named Cody. Pictures from a recent reunion, some from my workplace, and even one where Cody had his arm around me in front of my house. The photos were cleverly taken to look like we were having secret meetings. If you only saw these, you would think I was cheating for sure.
This is irrefutable evidence. We're getting a divorce and you owe me $50,000. Pay up. All at once.
My husband and sister-in-law were smirking. It was clear they were trying to frame me for cheating. I decided to play along. Fine, if you insist on a divorce, let's do it. Don't worry about the settlement or alimony. I'll handle it all properly. At my words, my husband and sister-in-law exchanged triumphant glances. But I had no intention of letting them off the hook. From here on out, I will push both of you into hell. Oh, by the way, the inheritance I got from my dad isn't part of the marital assets.
What?
My husband and sister-in-law were stunned. My husband was the first to come to his senses.
Why not? Money earned after marriage is supposed to be split evenly.
True, for money we have earned while married. But inheritance from my deceased parents isn't something we acquired together, so it's not part of the settlement. Didn't know that, did you? Too bad for you.
What?
How do I know all this? Cody told me everything. Turns out I had consulted the police the day Cody showed up at my house. Cody got scared after a warning from the police and spilled the beans the next day.
I'm really sorry. My coworker just asked me to seduce Amelia, that's all.
Cody deeply apologized and spilled everything he knew. Turns out Cody was a junior colleague of my sister-in-law at work. My sister-in-law had heard about a reunion from her husband and said, "Cody, you went to school with my sister-in-law, right? Set a honey trap for her. If my brother and his wife divorce, we'll get some money from the settlement. I'll give you a cut if it works." Cody got manipulated by sister-in-law and started getting close to me, while they took photos to document it. They were trying to blackmail me with these fabricated proofs of infidelity. Oh, wait a minute, you're saying I set this guy up? How can you prove it without any evidence? Sister-in-law denied it. I have evidence. Take a look at this. I showed them my phone screen. I had saved the text exchanges between Cody and sister-in-law and separately the text between sister-in-law and my husband. The text read, "I was so surprised to bump into you in front of the hotel."
Me too. Keep my girlfriend a secret.
Of course. You keep quiet about the guy I was with too.
Deal.
Your girlfriend is stunning. How did you meet her?
She is a co-worker in my department. We met after a transfer. I'm so happy after being with her every day.
You're bold, cheating so openly and not getting caught.
If I say it's over time, Amelia doesn't ask more. She has been so down since her father passed. I couldn't stand it otherwise.
Wow. Poor Amelia.
Actually, I want to divorce Amelia and marry her.
I have an idea. Let's make it look like Amelia cheated. Even if she doesn't fall for the honey trap, we'll have the photos and evidence. We can get compensation and a share of the inheritance. Both my husband and sister-in-law panicked after seeing the saved text. How did you get this? Charlton, what does her mean? Sister-in-law, you're engaged and you're cheating too? You think I would cheat just because you are?
Give me that phone. Delete it now.
My husband tried to snatch the phone from my hand. Oops, my hand slipped. I narrowly managed to forward the screenshots of the text exchanges to someone. My husband looked at the phone screen he had just snatched from me, his face drained of color.
You've got to be kidding. Dad?
Hurry up, long press the image and cancel the message. Both were panicking, but in the meantime, my father-in-law had already read the message. Realizing that I had accidentally forwarded the SMS screenshots to father-in-law, my husband and sister-in-law turned pale. Soon after, my phone rang. It was father-in-law. Charlton, you messed up, so you answer it.
No way. That was your idea, sis. You take responsibility.
My husband and sister-in-law were pushing my phone back and forth. Finally, sister-in-law said, "You deal with it," and handed me back the phone. I answered and explained everything to father-in-law. That night, a family meeting was called at my in-laws' house. As expected, my husband and sister-in-law got an earful. "You both cheated and tried to frame an innocent woman? Shame on you."
We owe a lot to Amelia's father. How dare you betray that trust?
My usually calm mother-in-law looked disgusted and father-in-law was furious. Turns out, my dad and father-in-law had a long-standing business relationship and my dad had helped father-in-law in times of need. Father-in-law turned to me and bowed deeply.
I'm so sorry for my foolish daughter and son. I don't know how to apologize.
After that, I decided to seek compensation from sister-in-law, my husband, and Cody through a lawyer. Despite the pending divorce and compensation, my husband packed his bags and left, going off the grid. I had a private investigator look into it and found out he had run off to his mistress's house. I was dumbfounded. I sent documents demanding compensation for adultery to both their workplaces. As a result, my husband and his cheating partner were in a bad position within the company, and my husband was relegated to another department. This led to my husband being demoted and his mistress, who was part-time, getting fired. While investigating my husband, I also had sister-in-law's affairs looked into. Turns out, she had not one, but two lovers. I informed her fiancé and my in-laws and sent them the evidence. Naturally, sister-in-law's engagement was called off and she was also sued for compensation. Afterwards, my husband and sister-in-law turned to their parents for help, but they refused and cut ties. They never thought their plan to frame me for cheating would backfire like this. Thanks to my lawyer, the divorce went through smoothly. While I felt relief, I also realized I was now alone, especially since my dad had passed away. I thought I would be lonely, but thanks to my supportive friends and my former in-laws, who had been incredibly kind, I'm doing surprisingly well. Every now and then, my ex-husband reaches out. His messages are either about wanting to get back together, saying things like, "You're the only one for me," or asking for loans. I ignore them and send screenshots to father-in-law each time. My ex gets scolded by father-in-law again. Does he not have a learning function in his brain? Maybe he doesn't have a brain at all. Since then, Cody has stopped showing up at the cafe where I work. Now that I'm divorced and don't have to worry about anything, I have decided to work there as a full-time employee. Moving forward, I plan to manage the inheritance my dad left me while working harder than ever.
My name is Eliza. I'm a 40-year-old woman. I have a loving family. My husband, 2 sons, and I get along really well. I met my husband Robert at work, and we got married 10 years ago. We clicked right away because we both loved music and grew up near each other. We'd go to concerts together, share CDs, and quickly became close. It didn't take long for Robert to bring up marriage, and I was overjoyed at the time. From there, everything went smoothly, and we tied the knot without any hitches. Our first son was born a year and a half later, followed by our second son 2 years after that. Despite our busy lives, we're having a great time as a family. Then Robert got transferred for work. We're originally from Atlanta, but moved to Boston for job reasons. We often talked about eventually moving back to Atlanta, if possible. This transfer finally made that dream come true. We saw it as a perfect opportunity to build our dream home in Atlanta. Though it'll take some time for the new house to be completed, the moving date is fast approaching. We considered Robert moving first and living alone temporarily. But with the kids' school schedules and other factors, we decided that it was best for all of us to move together now. So we've decided to temporarily stay at Robert's parents' house. His parents are getting on in years and having a hard time with the stairs in their spacious home. They're considering moving to a smaller, more accessible house. So we figured living with them for a short while wouldn't be a big deal. They welcomed the idea, and neither I nor our sons had any reservations about living with the in-laws. So we'll stay with them until our new home is built and they find a new place to live. Our kids were thrilled to leave our cramped apartment for a larger home with a yard. I was also excited to escape the hustle and bustle of Boston and return to Atlanta, a place I love. However, I had no idea that this choice would bring about some serious challenges. Moving day arrived. All our belongings were packed into the moving truck, leaving our apartment completely empty. We headed to my in-laws' house. "Welcome back! You must have traveled far. Glad you made it." Macy, my kind-hearted mother-in-law, greeted us with a warm smile. I always think Robert takes after his gentle and calm mom, Macy. Darren, my father-in-law, is a man of few words, but he looked genuinely happy to see his grandchildren after so long. "Mom, Dad, we're gonna shake things up for a while. Sorry about that. Thanks for having us." Darren, Macy, we know you have health concerns, so we'll do our best to make things easy. Thank you for welcoming us. After Robert and I said our hellos, my in-laws greeted us warmly in return. I was a little tense about living with my in-laws, but seeing their smiles put me at ease. We carried our bags into the room they had prepared for us and began to unpack right away. As I was organizing stuff in the kids' room, I was startled by a loud thumping sound coming from the room next door. The kids stopped and looked startled too. After that, the sound ceased, and all went quiet. We continued to unpack, but I couldn't shake off this nagging feeling. And my unease proved right that night. Come dinner time, Macy laid out a spread of homemade dishes. Macy is good at cooking, and told the kids, "I went all out for you today." The kids' eyes lit up with joy at their favorite dishes on the table. Then Macy said, "I need to call Sissy down. Darren, could you go get her?" Hearing this, Robert looked surprised and asked, "Wait, Sissy's still living here? I thought she moved out." "Nope, she's still here. She quit her job and has been staying ever since." "Seriously? I thought she was long gone. You should have told me." "Well, it's not like she would leave. Besides, she's not causing any harm." Overhearing Robert and Macy's hushed conversation, I felt a sense of foreboding. I've only met Robert's sister Sissy once during our wedding, but unlike Robert, she struck me as a gloomy person. She's always been socially awkward, and Robert doesn't seem too fond of her. Though they're siblings, Robert said they barely talked until he moved out, and I remember him telling me that. I remember feeling we wouldn't get along when we briefly talked at the wedding. Soon, Darren came down from the upstairs, followed by Sissy, who seemed rather annoyed. With her unkempt hair and stretched out sweatshirt, Sissy looked like the epitome of antisocial. Robert sighed, and the kids started to feel uneasy with Sissy's strange vibes. The moment Sissy sat at the table, the atmosphere turned awkward, and I couldn't take it anymore. I broke the silence. Sissy, long time no see. We'll be staying here for a while." Upon hearing that, Sissy glared at me and said, "You guys were noisy in the next room." That's when I realized she was the one making the noise by hitting the wall. "I'm sorry for the noise. We'll be more careful." "Look, we've got kids. Some noise is inevitable, right? A little tolerance wouldn't hurt, so the kids can be at ease," Robert told Sissy. Sissy silently started eating, while the kids looked visibly downcast. I was unable to bear it, so I smiled and spoke to my sons. "Grandma's happy to see you two energetic. Don't worry about it. Just be yourselves, kids. Enjoy." Hearing this, the kids finally relaxed and started eating, which put us at ease. However, Sissy's constant displeasure had me on edge. Later, as the kids were getting ready for bed after showering, I told them, "Your aunt, Dad's sister, is in the room next door. Remember not to be too noisy. Remember the time at the apartment when the neighbor got mad for being loud? We've got to be careful. Once our new home is ready, we won't have to worry about this. Hang in there." Upon hearing this, the kids replied with a "yes." After the kids went to bed, I got thirsty and went to the kitchen for some water. Sissy was there alone, so I cautiously spoke. "I've told the kids to keep the noise down in the room. We won't be here long, but we'll try not to bother you. Sorry for any inconvenience." Then Sissy looked at me and said, "I don't mind the kids being noisy. They're just children after all. What bothers me is you acting all nice. Just because you have kids and a husband doesn't give you the right to look down on me." She then walked past me and went upstairs. I stood there dumbfounded, unable to believe what I'd just heard. I never intended to look down on Sissy or act like a goody two-shoes. I was just trying to make both our lives a bit more comfortable. It really bothered me when she reacted the way she did. I thought about telling Robert, but it didn't seem like a great idea to start off our new living situation with a complaint. So I kept quiet. However, Sissy continued to treat me poorly the following days. Thankfully, she wasn't mean to the kids, but she always found a way to nitpick or make snide remarks at me. It was tough. I love her cooking as much as the next person, but I figured it must be hard for her to cook every day, so I also cooked sometimes, and whenever I did, Sissy would complain. "The soup tastes a bit bland today, needs more flavor," she'd say, making a show of heading to the kitchen for seasoning. "This is overcooked to the point it's losing its shape. It's not food for the elderly, you know." She would complain, leaving food on her plate, bit by bit chipping away at my morale. I'd laugh it off each time, saying, "Sorry, I guess I can't compare to Macy's culinary skills." Both the kids and my husband would laugh when they heard this. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it, but it was getting to me. I never thought moving into my in-laws' house would be so emotionally draining. I couldn't bring myself to talk to my husband about it, but one day I gathered the courage to confide in Macy. "Macy, do you think Sissy doesn't like me?" Hearing this, Macy looked surprised. "Why would you say that? Of course she doesn't hate you." "Well, ever since we moved in, she's been leaving the food I make, complaining that it's bland. It hurts, you know." Smiling warmly, Macy said, "Don't worry about it. Sissy's always been difficult and hardly straightforward. She often says the opposite of what she's thinking. Plus, it's been a while since she talked to someone her age. I think she just wants to chat. Don't take it to heart," she said, patting my shoulder before heading out to the garden. I could only let out a deep sigh. Macy probably just said that to appease me. She seemed to struggle with Sissy too. Maybe Macy was glad Sissy's complaints were directed at me and not at her. At that moment, I knew I couldn't keep living with her. Not like this. That night, I was cleaning up the dishes when Sissy walked into the kitchen, leaving us alone. I avoided eye contact as best I could, but Sissy just had to make a snide comment. "You told Mom, didn't you, that you can't stand me?" I turned to Sissy, waving my hands in denial. "I didn't say that. I thought if I talked to Macy about it, we could find a way to get along better. I feel like I've been making you uncomfortable." "Oh, playing the victim, huh? That's what irritates me about you. You wish I'd just go away, don't you?" "That's not what I'm thinking. Sissy, let me wash that glass for you." As I reached for Sissy's glass, she snapped, "Stop it!" and knocked my hand away. "You're so annoying, trying to act like the good one here." With that, Sissy stormed out of the kitchen. I didn't know what to do anymore. Tears started to roll down my cheeks. Seeing that I hadn't returned, Robert came looking for me. Upon seeing my red eyes, he quickly embraced me. "Hey, what's going on? Something happened?" I hesitated, torn whether to tell Robert or not, but my tears kept falling. Robert took me to our room and rubbed my back until I calmed down. I couldn't hold back any longer. I spilled everything about how Sissy had been treating me and how much it hurt. Robert listened to the very end. When I finished, Robert spoke gently. "I'm really sorry about Sissy, but you should have talked to me sooner. We're a couple. Don't keep things to yourself." I didn't want to make Robert feel bad or worried, but hearing him say that made me feel glad I had told him. Robert was furious, unable to forgive Sissy. Already having issues with her, his disdain for Sissy grew even more for hurting me. Robert proposed a plan. Given that he was in charge of our parents' relocation, he suggested using that as leverage to teach Sissy a lesson. I was concerned, asking him, "Is that really okay?" But Robert was absolutely confident. The day of reckoning was also the day we'd move in to our new home. Robert had told me to steer clear of Sissy as much as possible until then. So I did just that, avoiding Sissy whenever I could. Sure, she had complaints, but I chose to ignore them. Perhaps finding it less entertaining to not get a rise out of me, Sissy started to stay in her room even more. Frankly, it worked to our advantage. While Sissy kept to her room, Robert and I arranged a new living situation for his parents. We researched and suggested an ideal nursing home for them. This place had certified caregiving staff on hand, and it offered private spaces where they could live normally but get immediate help if needed. When Robert explained to his parents that they could continue to live as they always had, they were thrilled, having had no idea such options even existed. When Robert asked if he should proceed with the paperwork, his parents happily left it to us, so the preparations went smoothly. Meanwhile, our new home was nearly complete. Finally, the moving day arrived. Both our families made steady progress in our moving preparations until the movers arrived. "It's time to say goodbye to this house. I'll miss it, but I'm excited for our new lives," Macy said, watching Darren and the movers load up their belongings. Even the kids were excited, running around the yard as they watched the movers pack their stuff. The hustle and bustle inside prompted Sissy to finally emerge from her room. "What's going on? Wait, we're moving?" She was clearly clueless. Robert and I exchanged a knowing smile. Sissy then went over to her parents. "Hey, you should have told me it was going to get noisy with the movers. Robert and his family are leaving today." Hearing this, Macy responded, "Not just Robert's family, dear. We're moving too." Sissy's eyes widened in shock. "What? I didn't know about this. Am I going to be the only one left in this house? Why?" She was visibly panicking, and understandably so. Losing the support of her parents would be a big problem for Sissy, who was both antisocial and unemployed. "We did tell you, from outside your room. If you didn't hear, that's on you." Usually, the quiet Darren calmly broke the news to Sissy. Sissy shot Darren a glare. "What? I didn't hear about this. Have the movers pack my stuff too." "Pack your stuff? Where are you planning on going?" Macy asked Sissy, with a confused look on her face. Sissy, visibly puzzled, retorted, "Huh? To the house where Mom and Dad are moving, of course. We live together, so obviously I'm moving too. What are you talking about? Darren once again calmly shared the reality. We're moving to an assisted living facility. It's not a place for you. At this, Sissy raised her voice. What do you mean? I don't get it! She began to shout angrily. Robert and I couldn't help but smirk. Sissy then turned to us. Hey, let me live at your place. It's a new house, right? If you can afford to build in the countryside, there must be plenty of room, she said. Shocked at her audacity, Robert coldly responded. I can't live with someone who hurts my wife. I have no obligation to share a home with Sissy. No way. Upon hearing this, Sissy shot me a glare. Ah, so you went and played the victim to Robert and made me out to be the bad guy? How annoying! Why is it always me who has to suffer? Sissy was making a scene. Robert then dropped another truth bomb. Also, unfortunately, there's no point in keeping this house when my parents are moving into assisted living. We've decided to sell it to support them. So, Sissy, start packing up. Upon hearing this, Sissy was dumbfounded and muttered, What does this mean? Just then, Macy and Darren joined us. Sissy clung to her in-laws, crying. Why are you leaving me behind? Why do I have to leave? Darren and Macy sighed in disbelief. We can't continue to care for someone who stays cooped up all day, vents her frustrations at Mom, and then takes it out on Liza when she arrives. You need to figure things out for yourself. You're an adult. Stop being a burden on your brother. Darren addressed Sissy. Darren's usually calm voice was tinged with anger. Yes, Robert had talked to his parents about Sissy. They too seemed exasperated with how to deal with her. And when they learned that I was on the receiving end of Sissy's outbursts, Darren was pretty livid. Macy felt terrible for brushing off my concerns and even cried about it. They decided Sissy should start living on her own, which led to this current plan. Sissy broke into tears at Darren's words, shouting, This doesn't make any sense! In the midst of this awkward atmosphere, the movers worked efficiently to get us ready for our new lives. My in-laws headed for the retirement home, and we went off to our new home. Sissy, left behind, had to scramble to find a cheap apartment to move into before the house was sold a week later. Since Sissy was unemployed, she was now forced to live on her own, which in a way kick-started her re-entry into society. It seemed like that was my in-laws' goal all along. Robert looked quite pleased with having given his sister a reality check. I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Now we've moved into the home of our dreams and are starting a new chapter in our lives.
If you want to see your grandchild, send us $2,000 every month. If you don't like it, we'll just cut you off. Sophia, my daughter-in-law, laughed mockingly after saying this. My son John didn't take my side. He simply nodded in agreement with Sophia. There's no way I could forgive such behavior. My son and his wife have always treated me poorly, but I don't recall doing anything to deserve this. Even though we're in-laws, I've always tried my best to be a good family member and not be a burden just because I'm older. And this is how they repay me? I can't take their terrible attitude anymore. If they want to treat me poorly, I can do the same to them. My name is Grace, a housewife in her 70s. I live with my husband. We have one son, John, who graduated from a prestigious private university. He now works for a corporation and lives in Boston. 2 years after John moved to Boston, he brought home a fiancée to introduce to us. She seemed like a quiet and calm woman. We approved of their marriage because we trusted John's choice. They had a grand wedding in Boston afterwards. Everything seemed fine between our families, so I thought. We're in good hands. After their marriage, they moved close to our home. Sophia was planning to get pregnant, and our town has a major university hospital, so it was convenient for them. I thought it was a bit early for them to have kids, but no one questioned their decision when we saw how much they both loved children and Sophia's strong desire to become a mother. At first, it seemed like we were getting along just fine as nearby in-laws, but everything changed when Sophia got pregnant. Grace, can you come over right now? I can't get any housework done. You've been through this, haven't you? Why won't you come and help? Are you even a mother-in-law? Sophia suddenly called me over like that and dumped all sorts of chores on me. Cleaning, laundry, and cooking. My wife is on edge. Pregnancy is tough, you know. It's only natural for her to be snappy if her in-laws, who should be helping, aren't. When I tried to confront John about Sophia's behavior, he dismissed me like that. Grace, can you send me $1,000 right now? I'm really strapped for cash this month. I mean, I've come all this way, heavy with child, to see you. The least you could do is help me out. When she showed up unannounced and said this, I couldn't turn her away from my front door. To make matters worse, she made a scene, yelling, "You're heartless, Grace! Your eldest son's wife is struggling, and you won't lift a finger? If I knew it'd be like this, I never would have moved nearby. Don't ever expect me to take care of you when you're old." I started getting the cold shoulder from my neighbors as a result. The terrible attitude of my eldest son and his wife had become neighborhood gossip. All the negativity naturally made its way back to us. We'd get asked all sorts of questions about them, or hear about the nasty rumors circulating. Because of them, living in the community where we'd spent so many years became uncomfortable. We tried talking to them once, asking them to change their attitude, but they wouldn't listen. Sophia screamed, "You're harassing me when I'm already stressed from pregnancy." John chimed in, pointing a finger at me. "Harassment? You're awful. Makes me sick to think I was raised by you." Ever since then, they've been nothing but rude to me, treating me like a housekeeper whenever we're together. We didn't want to cause any more drama, so we couldn't be assertive with them. Their behavior continued to escalate. Last month, they had a baby. Despite us reaching out and saying, "We'd love to meet our grandchild," they've kept us completely cut off. When our kid meets someone like you, they'll turn out all wrong. When Sophia said this, it made my blood boil, but I held back to avoid more conflict. Still, my frustration with them kept growing. That day, they showed up at our house unannounced again. As soon as we opened the door, they waltzed in and brazenly sat down on our living room couch. "Grace, you can't even offer your guests some tea? Normally you'd serve some nice snacks, wouldn't you?" They acted as if they owned the place. It's unacceptable behavior to just show up and act like this. I can't consider people with attitudes like yours as guests. We didn't have plans to meet today, did we? Could you please leave? And what about the grandchild? You didn't just leave them alone, did you? I glared at them and said. Sophia retorted, "As if we'd neglect our precious child. A friend offered to babysit, so we took them up on it. Unlike you, Grace, we actually put our child first." Her words implied that I hadn't cared for John, that I'd been negligent in raising him. I've done my best with raising my children, you know, even if the results weren't what I'd hoped for. See, that's exactly what bugs me. When I look at you, Grace, it's clear you don't really care about your kids. If you truly cherish them, wouldn't your son treat you differently? Sophia smirks as if to provoke me, but I can't let words like that sway me now. I've grown accustomed to Sophia's harsh comments. However, what she said next was unforgivable. You might act all high and mighty, but aren't you planning to use your son to get my child? Don't you think he'll listen to his mother? And don't you resent me for stealing your son? Her words made me snap. Nothing she's saying is anything more than her imagination. It's not at all how I feel. Yet what stung the most was John casting a disdainful look at me after hearing Sophia, as if to say, "So you're thinking that, huh?" "Stop it! You're way off base! This is all in your head." Sophia laughs as if it is all a joke. "All in my head! Good luck convincing me of that. I see right through you, you know." But I don't harbor any of the feelings Sophia describes. For me, John is practically a stranger at this point. I have no emotional attachment to him. Just to set the record straight, I don't think the way you imagine. I can't consider someone who acts like this my son. Upon hearing this, John turns red and shouts, "What? What are you talking about? Despite being blood-related, you'd say something like that? You're unbelievable!" I get it. From John's perspective, it feels like I'm negating our parent-child relationship. But wouldn't it be better if he got mad at Sophia instead of getting mad at this? Tolerating Sophia's behavior while demanding proper treatment for himself, that's incredibly selfish. So I firmly told him, "Who's the real monster here? A son who laughs along while his wife insults his mother is not a son I can acknowledge." Then Sophia stood up and intervened. "Hold on a second. What you're saying is too harsh. You're going to hurt your son's feelings. You shouldn't say things like that as his mother. Apologize right now." Whose fault is that things have got this bad? I was further irritated by their forgetful attitude, but I gritted my teeth and endured. "Seriously, isn't this all because of the way you, Grace, are behaving? We're family. Shouldn't we get along? Bickering like this won't solve anything," Sophia said, acting like the voice of reason. John nodded as if moved by Sophia's words. "My wife is really wonderful." Wonderful? She ruins other families while boosting her own image. There's no way a woman like Sophia who keeps doing this can be a wonderful wife. I was fed up with Sophia's behavior, and also with John, who was falling for it. I didn't want any more arguments. Yet, inevitably, bickering would start because they instigated it, benefiting only Sophia in the end. How can I break this vicious cycle? I tried talking to my husband and thought of my own solutions, but each time Sophia would override them, lowering my value while elevating her own. After all these events, I was completely worn out. In the end, for several months, I couldn't see my grandchild. I'd asked my eldest son and his wife several times to let me see them, but I was always told they didn't want me to, and was turned away at their door. Despite this, my eldest son and his wife continued to visit our home unannounced, and the stress kept piling up. One day I was called to their house. I was wondering what it could be about when Sophia, with a serious expression, said, "We have something to discuss. Grace, we'd like to ask for an allowance. Is that okay?" I was puzzled by Sophia's words. It would make sense if we were asking for money, since my husband is retired and we're living on a pension. But John is still working and they make a decent income. It seemed absurd to be asked for money by them. "Why do you need an allowance? Doesn't my son make enough money?" "Oh, come on. The details don't matter. Just give us some money and that'll be that. We won't ask for much." Neither Sophia nor John would tell me why they needed the money. Given that there was no way I could agree to an allowance, "I'm sorry, but I have to decline. We can't afford to give an allowance without even knowing the reason," I responded. Sophia's face turned red as she exclaimed, Are you really a mother? Your son and daughter-in-law are struggling, and you won't even help? And that's what she blurted out. Go ahead, blame me all you want. I'm not giving you a dime for your support. You're just heartless. No wonder even your own son can't stand you. That's irrelevant. If you change your attitude, maybe I'd reconsider. Sophia burst out laughing right there and said, change my attitude. I've always had the perfect attitude for a person like you, Grace. If you want to see your grandchild, send me $2,000 every month. If you don't like it, we can just cut ties and you won't see us. I couldn't believe my ears at Sophia's words. Sophia kept laughing, and John chimed in. Well said. I had no allies in this room. I couldn't stand being controlled by Sophia anymore. So I just stopped caring. Fine, let's cut ties then. The thought of not having to see your faces anymore actually feels liberating. At my words, Sophia, who had been laughing, froze. Wait, what? Are you serious? As if she never expected me to respond that way. When I thought about it, my answer was only natural. For 2 years I've been harassed by my eldest son and his wife. They'd tell me to lend them money or suddenly summon me to do housework. If I refused, they'd call me heartless. There's no way I wouldn't be fed up with them. Cutting ties with them would be a perfect opportunity for me to discard this burden. I am serious. The thought of not having to see your faces feels liberating. I'll even draft a formal document so you can't approach me later. Sophia, not expecting my eagerness, shouted, Oh, wait a minute! Grace, have you lost your mind? If you cut ties with us, you won't be able to see your son or your grandchild. And there's no way you can survive, just the two of you elderly people. You don't have anyone else to take care of you, right? There's no one who would care for broke seniors. So please, think it over, Sophia retorted. Despite being the one who suggested we cut ties, Sophia now had the audacity to say all this. I couldn't help but sigh at her short-sightedness. Well, to be honest, I've wanted to distance myself from you guys for a long time now. I just never found the right moment to say it. But since you brought it up, it seemed like the perfect time. Sophia responded, I never thought you'd take me seriously. We can't live without your help. Your son has actually already quit his job. Please, help us. I couldn't help but exclaim, What? John, on the other hand, was awkwardly avoiding eye contact. According to Sophia, John quit his job thinking they didn't need to work as long as I was willing to lend them money. Sophia had tried to talk him out of it, but John didn't listen and quit his job without her consent. Apparently, they were both now working part-time to make ends meet, while their son was left at a friend's house. Sophia mentioned they were burdening this friend by leaving their son there 5 days a week. They were recently warned by this friend, who refused to look after their son anymore. Sophia went on to say that they had planned to leave the child with me, who has been eager to meet him and also benefit from some financial help. I was almost laughing at how naive my eldest son and his wife were, but I listened to the end. Sophia sincerely apologized at that moment. Please, Grace, help us. Without your help, your son and grandson will face hardships. You are the only one we can rely on. Sophia apologized deeply, tears streaming down her face. But her convenience-driven attitude made my anger boil over. After the way they've treated me, now they come running when they find themselves in trouble, looking to take advantage of me. It was clear they would make foolish choices again if I let them off the hook now. I'm sorry, but no matter how much you apologize, I won't be sending any money or spending any time with my grandson. We will keep our distance as initially planned. Please don't say such harsh things. We're family, aren't we? Isn't it natural for a family to help each other out in times of need? Family? You're the ones who treated this family like it's disposable, remember? When I confronted her like that, Sophia went silent. She always blabs about anything that suits her, but shuts up when it's convenient. Really unfair, I thought. You guys really should rethink what family means. Family is for support, not for exploiting. You can't even understand that basic idea, yet you became parents. You're really pitiful. Even after I said this, neither Sophia nor John had any retorts. Seeing them look down and avoid eye contact, I felt there was nothing more to say. I walked out of my eldest son's home and cut ties with them, just as I had announced. In the end, I never got to see my grandchild. But given the parents, I doubted I'd ever find the child genuinely adorable anyway. I'm fine with how things turned out. I heard later from friends that after cutting ties with us, the couple began fighting constantly. It was inevitable. They divorced. Sophia got custody, but she's too busy with work. Her parents are taking care of the child. Sophia and John continue to work part-time jobs, grinding away each day and coming home exhausted. As for me, the source of stress is gone, and I'm enjoying a peaceful life. Actually, I've been coordinating with Sophia's parents, meeting my grandchild when Sophia isn't around. Despite being born to those two, the kid's still adorable. When I extend my finger towards my sleeping grandchild, the tiny hand grips it, filling me with genuine love. Sophia's parents are decent people, so unless something drastic happens, a good relationship should continue. Although we've become strangers to our grandchild, we still want to watch him grow, even from afar.